Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Sean. This is Comix Review coming at you bi-weekly from sunny St. Mary's, California, Maryland. So what's good, everybody? Big things on the horizon. The new Batman creative team. Those who don't know, Batman's getting a new creative team coming in after the next issue. It's going to be pretty interesting. They just wrapped up the last story arc from the Abyss saga, which I think was kind of boring. But they had a twist, spoiler alert. Abyss is the detective that Batman was working with when he was in that country, Botanista. It was an interesting story. It kind of wrapped some things up. I think you have to read the Batman annual that was just released last week to fully understand what that means. I think there was a big jump off for Batman Incorporated. And somehow I think Abyss is going to be a part of this version of Abyss. It's going to be a part of Batman Incorporated. I don't know if I'm going to pick up Batman Incorporated. I've been trying to wean myself off of Batman. But it's hard. I like Batman. I like his stories. I like Batman Incorporated, the concept of it. It's very interesting that they have, Clown Killer and what's my man's name? The dude, the ninja dude. And that's not a good name. What's his name? It'll come back to me sooner or later. I'm getting old. But also, from 2 weeks ago, Life Zero. I think they're getting ready to conclude that with issue 5 coming up shortly. Really good book. Different take on the zombie apocalypse. Very cutthroat. And what I like about it, that it makes it different than The Walking Dead and some of the other titles. They don't sit around and talk about their feelings for half the book. They go out, they go do things, they interact with their world, they hold grudges. It's very, it has a gritty realism to it. And that's what I like about it. It really takes me back because the protagonist is not likable. I think I said this on the previous podcast. Derek is an ass. I mean, he's a dude if you knew who he was on the street, you'd punch him in the face. He's horrible. He's horrible to his teammates and he's a hypocrite. But like I said, the realism and the writing, the art, just beautiful. And the story flows very quickly. It'd probably be better to read this in a trade paperback. But, for those of us who still collect single comic books, go out and get it because you can find most of them on your back issue shelf. Really good book. Life Zero. Next up is Final Crisis. Now, Final Crisis, they've done Crisis for the last 30 some odd years, 40 some years. And I started asking myself, how many times can you damn do Crisis? This is Final Crisis. The Justice League is dead. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Arrow, and Green Lantern. Now they're trying to make a new generation of heroes. It's interesting they're including Jonathan Kent, Superman's son, and he's technically not a leader. He's probably the most powerful member of that group. Or this new Justice League that they're trying to form, but he's not a leader, which is very apparent in the Final Crisis issue. How he's asking people if they want to form up a new Justice League, and they're like, man, go pound sand. Who are you? Even though he's Superman's son and probably gonna be as powerful as Superman, which is a little scary, but he has a naivety to him. But he's a good character. Hopefully they can get this title, and don't listen to me. People buying the hell out of that series. The Final Crisis thing has people enthralled. They've already on a second printing, from my understanding. But it's just weird, man. They keep rebooting their continuity every so many years. They just done it with Dark Knight's Death Metal. They did it with the Watchmen, the Doomsday Clock, Infinite Frontier again. It's just how many times can you recreate a clock? I'm off my soapbox. Next, we'll get into the benefits of reading your comics. Your back issues. A lot of good stories. I think a lot of comic collectors, they collect a lot of different comic books. They read a lot of different things. Well, I'm sorry, they collect a lot of different comic books, but they don't read them. I'll say that again. They collect a lot of different comic books, but they don't read them. I've noticed that with a lot of the online speculators. They talk about comic books, they talk about cover art, but never do they talk about the story. Because I came to the realization, a few episodes in some of these podcasts and some of these YouTube channels, that these speculators don't know what the hell they're talking about. They only know what the value level of things are. They don't know what the qualitative value is, the intrinsic value of reading what you've purchased and how it affects you. So it's interesting to see them put a monetary value on nearly everything, but then not delve into what the actual book is about, who the artists are, did it move you, what were the good and bad points? Because they don't know, because they haven't read them. And I'm not trying to knock speculators, because that's how some people make their money, off slabs, off graded comics. I have a few graded comics here and there, but for the most part, most of my collection is raw or ungraded. I shouldn't say raw. Everyone know what I mean. It's ungraded books. And that's just like the majority of most comic book collectors. So I always have to differentiate between collectors and speculators. I am not a speculator. I'm a collector. I like to read. I like to collect. It's something that's been passed down to me since I was a little boy. And it's something I'm trying to pass down to my grandsons. None of my kids are really interested in it. But, it's something I want to pass along, before I'm gone. I would like someone else to, pick up the same legacy I had, give someone a legacy to leave behind, because no one in my immediate family really read comic books. My dad and granddad bought us comic books when we were little, and that's what got us to read them. But yeah, it's a lot of benefits in reading those back issues in your own bins, especially with the inflation and the way the economy is going now. If you want to get some value, pick up some of those books you might have glossed over. There are a lot of important stories, and every comic book's important and it has value if you read it. Every last one of them. Lately, I went in my own back issues and I read Impossible Jones from just a couple years ago, a year or so ago. Very basic story, superhero story, but she's not really a hero. She got her powers from an accident, very cliche. But it comes to find out she is a thief. She's not a good guy. She was trying to rob a place, and that's what happens. And she has powers very similar to Miss Marvel. I'm not saying she's a ripoff, but she's very similar to Miss Marvel. But she has, she's malleable form. She can shift in her size. Well, I didn't really say she can shift in her size, but she can shift in her body mass and stuff like that. She can absorb kinetic energy. She's an interesting character, and it was a short run from Scout Comics, and it's called Impossible Jones. Really fun art. It's very whimsical. Doesn't take itself overly seriously, but it's not poorly done either. Scout puts out a lot of good comic books, and this one is no exception. It's very well written. Story flows. It makes sense. They even clean up some of the continuity stuff, because a lot of the I've noticed a lot of short runs, they'll have a lot of dangling plot lines and they don't answer them, because you're anticipating a second volume, and I think Impossible Jones probably is going to get another volume, and it's also even better if you read it trade paperback. But it's a really good book. Kessel, he's the writer on this, Brett Kessel. He's written a lot of things over the last 10, 15 years, but he has really put something nice together in that. Impossible Jones, Scout Comics. Get at him. So what am I reading right now? What's on my pull list? I got a few things on my pull list. Town Called Terror, Batman, Detective Comics, Black Panther, Captain Carter. Good series. Actually, really good series. Godzilla versus Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but I think that's going to come off my pull list. It's kind of been letting me down. It's a decent story. but it's very repetitive, and it's like a story that you've already read, if you get what I'm saying. House of Slaughter, which is really good. They've changed the focus, new story arc. Very well done book. I Am Batman. Ridley is killing I Am Batman and Black Panther. John Ridley, he's becoming one of my favorite writers. It's interesting to see his take on Jace Fox as Batman, as he's trying to become a detective. He's not Bruce Wayne. He has Bruce Wayne money, but he's not a detective. He's a rich kid in a bat suit, and is trying to show his evolution from rich kid in a bat suit to detective or dark detective or whatever they call Batman these days. But I think it's interesting because, a few issues ago, he's got his ass kicked. The main antagonist, he's a serial killer. He kills people. He's kind of like a vigilante. I don't know if he's an anti-hero, more like a vigilante. But he kills rich people and powerful people who don't do right. And he got the drop on Batman and Batman, I guess, just beat his ass. And so bad till Jace had to escape. He had to flee, which something Batman has done before, but it's like very infrequent that he does this. And it's very infrequent that Bruce Wayne Batman is ever beaten head-to-head in a hand-to-hand combat, unless it's by someone who's got superpowers. And this guy's just a crazy dude with an iron and spikes. So it's weird, but it kind of humanizes the character. It makes you think that, okay, this dude he's normal. He's not superhuman. He can't bench press 1,000 pounds, beat Killer Croc in a fist fight. But I like the way his story has flowed, and he's presenting a lot of continuity in his stories. And like I said, I mentioned Black Panther before this. He writes Black Panther too, and Black Panther is a decent story. I've kind of got on the Black Panther train a little bit late. Probably in the last 4 or 5 years, I've been reading Black Panther. I really like his take on the character. I like that they've taken him from being a Star Lord or whatever the hell, going out and making Wakanda forever in outer space to back on Earth, trying to square away his own kingdom. It's really interesting, and like I said, he's humanizing T'Challa, the character, and he's brought Storm back. He's introduced a bunch of new characters. Ridley has an imagination, man. I would love to see him take on a bigger book than Black Panther, but I digress. I'm also reading Philadelphia, the great Rodney Barnes. He's awesome. He's getting ready to get the key to the city of Annapolis. He's a Maryland native. I'm reading his Nita Hawes Nightmare blog. They just finished the first arc of that. He's also getting ready to write The Mandalorian. That dude he's on one, man. If you don't know who Rodney Barnes is, Google him. That dude's incredible. He has a prolific writing resume, from sitcoms to the Boondocks to anything you can think of. My Wife and Kids. The dude is very, very talented. His artist on Nita Hawes and Philadelphia's Jason Sean Alexander. That dude, he's done work on Spawn, kind of reinvented that character. The artwork in Philadelphia and Nita Hawes is beautiful. The covers are beautiful. Those are two of the better series that come out in the last year and a half. Just excellent, last 2 years for Philadelphia. Just a better, take on a tired ass vampire trope. So if you got space in your pull it. Or go in the back issue bin, Philadelphia, by Rodney Barnes and Jason Sean Alexander. Excellent. Little Monsters, another vampire book. But this is by Jeff Lemire. Very well told story. Very odd story because it's like Lord of the Flies meet vampires. These kids, they think they're the last people on Earth.